welcome back to New Entry Wrestling Podcast. I got right here my special guest, an old time friend back in high school. Actually, you've been on the show before a few years ago, I believe. But anyways, welcome back, Marcos. And Marcos, your mic is off. What just happened to your mic? You were just working.
Hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, can you hear me? All right, this will work then.
Yeah, what just happened to your mic?
It's technology. I have no idea.
All right. No worries, no worries. But anyways, Marcos, how you been?
Been pretty good, man. Been pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good as well, man. I went to WrestleMania.
I know I saw that. I'm really jealous. How was it?
Dude, amazing. Uh how can I it's one of those things where you're just like, I'm gonna go one day, and then you're just like, it's never gonna happen, and I'm okay with that. But like never say never. And then it got to the point where I was like, oh, I got tickets to WrestleMania, and it's like, well, I'm not going. I something's going to bound to happen, and I have to sell the tickets. I got insurance on them, and I'm thinking like, I'm not going. And then the days keep getting closer and closer, and I'm like, I'm going to WrestleMania. And it's like, no, something's gonna happen as soon as I go over there. And next thing you know, no, thank God, everything worked out fine. And yeah, it was the guy who I went junior.
Hmm.
We were talking about it, and 20 years ago, he took me to go see WrestleMania 20 at the Chaser Sports Bar there, it's not too far from us. And that's where he took me to go watch WrestleMania. And it's a little, I don't know, like I just told him like, oh, one day I'm gonna take you to go see WrestleMania 40. And he was like, as a joke, he was like, well, make sure it's like a live show, make sure we go to the stadium, like to the live show, watch it live at WrestleMania. And then like 20 years later, I was able to do that.
Hmm.
But it wasn't like I looked back in my life and I was like, oh, I remember this day. I gotta make this happen. It was just like, oh no, it just the
It was
pieces
almost like
were
naturally just happening.
it naturally just happened. Yeah, because he moved like an hour away from the stadium. Like, dude, what are the chances of that?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And
So,
he moved there last year,
oh, it's like almost faith at this point, like destiny.
basically. Yeah.
I do want to ask you. I saw some things on Twitter, where people were saying like the pricing on the food there was insane. So, how much did you pay for like chicken nuggets over there? I'm curious.
Well, they didn't have chicken nuggets there. So each level had similar foods, but also whatever you couldn't get downstairs, they had it upstairs.
Mm.
So there were some areas that they had Philly cheesesteaks. They had Cajun French fries, and then they had Little Caesars pizza. What else did they had? I think that, and then they had like cheeseburgers, hamburgers, and stuff like that. So when you get the food alone was like $15 to $16, depending on what you get, right?
Hmm.
The cup, this cup right here,
Hmm.
was like 10 bucks, 12
That's not too
bucks.
bad.
No, sorry. It's 10 bucks at the merch, but
Hmm.
because if you get it there, it was like 15 bucks. So together, it was like $34, between 30 to $34.
Okay, that makes sense because I saw some guy post like a picture of like chicken tenders or something like that, and for three people it was like $90. So that kind of makes sense when you break it down like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, for three people, if he's paying for three people, that's like that was a fair price. And also, you know, that's not even, that has nothing to do with WWE. It's the
Hmm.
stadium. I hate when people blame, oh, WWE are charging us too much. That has nothing to do with WWE. It's the stadium that's charging those prices because they already got paid.
Right, yeah, yeah.
They
And
were,
it's the
yeah,
parking situation too. Like you
yeah,
pay the city, not WWE.
right. And then it's like that's their way of making money because they got to pay for securities, they got to pay for the food trucks, they got to pay for maintenance. Maintenance is like 24 hours at that freaking place. So yeah, so it's like I hate when people blame WWE, and it's like, bro, stop blaming because I seen videos. I seen those videos.
Hmm.
I think I only saw two people that actually blamed the stadium. Like, oh, the Philly stadium's crazy, overcharging these fucking food and all that. And then I saw so many videos blaming WWE, where it's like WWE has nothing to do with that, you know. So, but yeah, food wise, for me, the only downside was because of my diet.
Hmm.
I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't like, oh, because I can't just be like, oh, it's cheat meal, I'm on vacation mode.
You need to prep
So
for it.
yeah, so I it was difficult for me to prep and what's it called? Once I got there, I was still in my diet mode. So I was
Hmm.
still, don't get me wrong, I was eating like I had a Philly cheesesteak, but by the time I was getting hungry, like by the time I break my fast, I was already at the stadium. So I had to spend that extra money on
Hmm.
expensive ass food, which I didn't want to. Like I couldn't force myself to eat. It took it took for me to come back from my vacation for me to be like, okay, I could go ahead and do this cheat day. And I was just like, well, can't have this, ruin it. Can't just go to waste. So
Right, right.
now I'm back on my diet. So
Good man.
yeah, it's a challenge. It's just like sometimes when you're on a diet, man, it's like sometimes you just got to go with it.
So let me
So
ask you, since you were in attendance, what part of your brain, or like a percentage wise, did you think that Dean was gonna pop out when you heard the Shields like theme music?
it's that first second because it said because I looked at the shield sign and I was like, my head turned. I was like, there's no way Tony is letting Dean Ambrose be here. Because remember, it's Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, two different,
Hmm.
it's one person playing two different characters on TV. So I'm like, it could work. I was like, maybe that's what's going on. The whole why they keep mentioning AEW and all that.
I
And
did
that's
think
what
that too.
that's
Yeah.
why I'm thinking like all that. So I was like, oh my gosh. And then um but it was like a little delayed. I was like, where's Seth freaking, where's nobody's coming out. And eventually it was Seth Rollins. And it turned out that he hurt his leg. That, I don't know if you heard this, but he actually just had knee surgery.
I wonder if that's why his match with Drew was basically a
A video
button
game.
match. Yeah, like it was very much like a button match because like all they could do was just finishers and signature moves. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering it's like they had to rewrite the match at the last minute.
Well, at the same time, if you were a wrestler and Triple H is gonna tell you, come up to you and say, "Hey, you're gonna win," and then drop the title 5 minutes later, do you think are you gonna go out there and have a classic, 20-minute match where it's just like, oh, it's just gonna be ruined because of the cash in,
Mm.
you know?
Okay, that's a good point. And also,
I'm not saying you're not wrong. That
mhm.
could be a high chance of that, but I'm just throwing my opinion where it's like imagine Drew finding out like, hey, yeah, you are gonna win, but you're gonna drop it like 5 minutes later, and it's like, oh, well, I'm not gonna go out there and have, tear down the house.
Well, the
So
thing is, Drew is kind of in a weird situation because his contract is up for negotiation in a week, I want to say,
no, it's
roughly.
still we're in the last well, probably a month now of their recording.
Hmm.
So at WrestleMania, so last week was 6 weeks. So we're probably on the fifth or fourth week now, and still has
Okay.
not signed with the company. And and he announced that he was going to be part of the King and Queen tournament. So isn't that like in June, if I'm not mistaken, or late May?
Yeah. That's not always accurate, but typically, if they're confident, and you resigning, they'll start advertising you in different places.
Right.
So at the very least, it shows that negotiations are in the more positive end between him and Triple H. But I was thinking, if Drew leaves, what does CM Punk do once he's fully healed?
I thought Punk was healed now. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be
Mm-hmm.
100%. I thought we were gonna get Drew versus CM Punk at Backlash. That's what I thought was going to happen, and then nothing's happening right now. And I feel
Yeah.
like, but at the same time, it's like, why would you want something to happen when there's gonna be a WWE brand split again? The
Mm-hmm.
WWE draft. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm thinking back to his interview on the MMA Hour. He did say his one of his arm wasn't as bad as the other one.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if the one that is bad is just really bad, so it's taking a while to heal. Because he says the other one is like it's more or less fine. It's just the other one that he has that like robotic thing on is like the really bad tricep. So I'm wondering if because that's a reoccurring injury for him, they're like, hey, just play it safe because you're like in your mid 40s, so like you just gotta be careful with this. But also, I'm guessing they just wanted to build up that match for maybe like a SummerSlam moment. Like it has
Hmm.
to be a big moment for that match to go down. So maybe it was too big for Backlash, but it's like the right size for a SummerSlam.
I just feel like Backlash is a good pay-per-view because look if through dude, look back at all the classic main event backlashes. Like I it always because it was always the because it was the pay-per-view after WrestleMania, so they
Mm-hmm.
made it a big deal, you know. So it always bothered me where it's like, oh, Backlash is just a mid-card pay-per-view, and it's
Yeah,
just
because
like
it's
you had Hulk Hogan versus Triple H, you had The Rock versus Goldberg,
yeah,
you
Batista Triple H the rematch after WrestleMania. Yeah,
Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Benoit the rematch.
and also the thing with Backlash, it could be used to fix a mistake you made at WrestleMania from like a writing standpoint. Like if you
Mhm.
feel like, man, maybe the wrong guy won that night, let's course correct it at Backlash. Let's like make the fan happy. Like it's almost like a fan service pay per view, but they
Right.
don't treat it that way anymore.
Yeah, and it gives that I like the pay-per-view because it's Backlash. It's just it's self-explained with the title, you
Oh
know.
yeah,
It's
it
it's
was kind of
like
like yeah,
it's like, oh, okay,
it's like
after
Victory Road for
WrestleMania.
TNA. The
Mhm.
title tells you what's about. It's the road to Bound for Glory. So it's
Right.
like Backlash. It's like the name tells you all you need to know about it.
Yeah. So that's why it was just like when we got all these great matches and stuff like that, and it's just like, I don't know, one, I don't know why they got rid of it. And then two, it was just like you guys brought it back and you guys are still trading it like a pay-per-view where it's like, eh. And it's just like, all right, well then why bring it back then? I never understood that.
For me, is why create other pay per views like Fatal Four Way or Over the Limit.
Why did they
Breaking
thought Fatal 4 and Over the Limit was going to be like a successful like pay-per-view? That's what I want to know.
and the crazy thing is, you have pay per views like Bad Blood you haven't used in years, which is like, oh, a pay per view all about feuds and ending feuds. Perfect. There you go. Just
Mhm.
bring back Bad Blood. For me, it seems that it's No Way Out has been like just largely neglected because like before, it's like you had to watch No Way Out before WrestleMania. Like for me, like I when I was a kid, I made sure I could watch the Randy Orton and Rey Mysterio match because like that would have dictated the main event.
Right.
Same thing. It's basically like the counterpart to Backlash. Like, since they're around WrestleMania, they should be pretty important, but they're not. And to me,
Yeah,
that's kind of just a weird thing.
and I think that's what they're lacking. Cause like when you mentioned about Victory Road and like they have the Royal Rumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble determines who's going to main event WrestleMania, right?
Mm-hmm.
No Way Out Elimination Chamber is who's gonna walk in to WrestleMania as the champion, you know? And then
Mm-hmm.
you have WrestleMania, and then you have WrestleMania Backlash. Backlash is like a rematch. It's something where it's like, ooh, we picked the wrong person. All right, Backlash, you know.
Exactly.
Bam,
Yeah.
there you go. Or sometimes it's just like, hey, you know what? Like Zack Ryder, it's like when he won the IC title, or Drew McIntyre, he won the world heavyweight title, where it's like, and then drops it to Damian Priest, where it's like WrestleMania is just for you to get your moment,
Hmm.
but you're gonna drop it at Backlash.
Right. And I think that's
Dude,
fair. Yeah.
yeah. It's just like, this is just for you to have your moment and to bring you higher on the card, but you're gonna drop it at WrestleMania. Or hey, this person needs to win at WrestleMania to make you look good because this person hasn't had their WrestleMania moment. So we got to have this person win. And but at Backlash, you're going to go over, because it's just like you need that redemption.
Hmm.
And the
And
fact
I
that
think
this,
for this upcoming Backlash, I think because Cable wasn't in WrestleMania because he lost to Sami Zayn, they're gonna put him in like the IC, like a heavy contender at Backlash. I don't think he's gonna win, but I think he'll
mm,
be like the arch nemesis to Zayn, kind of like how Edge was to John Cena.
ooh, okay.
So I
Okay.
think like he probably won't win the championship until either a episode of Raw where they need like a big technical match to carry the show, or at SummerSlam.
I think I'm trying to like throw a blank where it's like, I feel like they didn't really thought this through, where
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
It feels very touch and go writing.
right, because it's like, because everything's going to change after the draft. And I feel like what they should have done was, what was Drew doing at Backlash? I feel like he could have been added to the match.
Hmm.
It could have been Drew, Jey Uso, and Damian Priest, right? At
Hmm.
Backlash. And so it's just like, and then after that, you could have had the draft. Or why wait till so long for the draft to even happen? I never understood that. Like, where it's like, hey guys, for the next 3 weeks, we're gonna be in this confusing time. It's gonna lead to the WWE draft, and then we're gonna like start all over and all that. And it was just
Well, the
like,
draft has never been consistent.
it hasn't.
It's like every time there's a draft, it's always slightly different from the previous draft. Like
It never
before,
works out. It never works out. I think the last time I got so excited and everything was in place was the time where I think it was '08 and '09, when
yeah,
that was
that
like, that
era.
was it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. For me, it was the only time I ever got annoyed with the draft was when somebody would get drafted to one place, but then redrafted back within an hour. Like
Like
with John
Cena.
Cena, because like
Yeah.
they never wanted him to go to SmackDown 100%. Like, you're coming back.
Yeah.
Like that, I hope they don't do, because to me, that's like it proves the draft doesn't mean anything at that point. And I do enjoy when a wrestler, like if one from SmackDown, one from Raw, had to fight to get the like first draft pick,
Mhm.
because that's great. Because then you bake into a storyline that
Right.
like, oh, I lost this moment in the sun, I got to redeem myself. And then for the winner, like, oh, I'm going into the next episode of Raw or SmackDown with momentum behind me. Like to me, that makes a lot of sense. You kind of give people these like small moments, if you
Ooh,
will.
yeah, I like that. Because like, what you could do is do like a kind of spin the wheel kind of thing, where it's just like, you could have somebody from Raw or SmackDown, right? You could say like Rey Mysterio from SmackDown going against The Miz from Raw. Have them go in the ring, face each other, and then whoever wins, they I don't know if I would do like, they could choose, or it's still spin like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
where you're gonna go, okay, you're gonna go to SmackDown, then cool, like, and then go back to what you just said, like, okay, cool, I just won this match, I'm going into SmackDown with this momentum, with this win, you know. Or they could just do it randomly, where it's just like, oh, okay, let's see who's gonna be drafted to Raw and SmackDown. Boom, there you go. I don't know. It's just like, I just hate the whole like, oh, hey, this person's going to SmackDown, this person's going to Raw, and then once we find out about the draft, right? Like, oh, this person's going on SmackDown,
Mm-hmm.
we ain't gonna see them for another like 3 or 4 weeks. And it was just like, okay, I, you know, I don't understand why they gotta turn it into a show.
Right, yeah. I mean, remember a couple of years ago, like I want to say maybe like '09 or 2010, where like they had their draft, but then a week later, oh yeah, we have a thing called a supplemental draft. People they just forgot about and they did it on WWE.com. Like they would
Oh,
just
yeah,
do it
I think
on their
so.
website.
I think so. And oh, and then what was that? The Superstar Shake-Off? I think the last time we had a draft, and then like a month or two later, they started doing the WWE Shake Up or Superstar or something like that. Once in a while, we'll have one superstar from SmackDown or NXT will show up on Raw, and then it'll be the other way around as well.
Well, do you remember when Vince McMahon had like the wild card rule where like 3 stars within like a week can appear on the opposite brand, as long as they have the same number of stars appearing on the other show. It was such a weird like pitch he had because I think he just like he wanted to have his cake and eat it too, and give his
Mm,
writers room to play around, but it just didn't really make any goddamn sense to me.
it didn't. I feel like just do the brand split. And to be honest, if you throw away NXT. I'm not saying throw away NXT, but you have a good roster on NXT where it's like you don't need people
Mm-hmm.
to go from you don't need somebody from SmackDown to go to Raw, you know,
Unless
or
you're a Barrett Corbin, where you're okay with like just hanging out with the kiddos because you want to help them kind of grow and learn, but also you can still do what you want to do, but you don't have the pressure of being on SmackDown.
and that's the other thing since you kind of mentioned that part. Why can't managers like Paul Heyman?
Mm-hmm.
We need more managers, and why can't Paul somebody like if we get a new manager, right? I don't even know who's manager right now, but let's just say we got
The guy from with Arthur's a Pain.
him. Why is he only with them?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't he go with somebody else? Paul Heyman at one point he had Ryback, Curtis Axel, CM Punk, Brock Lesnar,
Mm-hmm.
help and Cesaro at one point. So it's like why can't he move around? Like that's what they need, managers to move around to different shows to help these characters out.
Oh man, if you had MVP on NXT, you can groom some great stars.
Bro, for Carmelo Hayes? Oh my
Speaking of him,
gosh.
have you heard that comment that Dave Meltzer did on Trick Williams?
Yes, I did. Let's talk about it.
It's like to me that's such it's such like a hard like the issue with that is you can technically say that about anyone. You can say that about Drew. Oh no, he's not great. It's just his opponents have always been great. And the thing is, it's just like a hard criticism because how do you defend against that? He
Right.
basically now he's like fight people he's never fought before to kind of prove that. But also, well, if him and the NXT rosters are all learning at the same time and growing together, how do you like like fight off that criticism? Like, yeah, they're great, but I'm also great too. Like it's such like a okay that makes sense for people like I would think Ryback.
Mhm.
I think Ryback was only good when he was with CM Punk feuding.
Oh, okay.
Same thing.
Okay. I see where you're getting first. I just want to defend. So Ryback had good matches, just like Hogan, but they have their style of wrestling. It's
Mm-hmm.
like eating a BLT sandwich and complaining about it, how there's no turkey, it's a BLT sandwich, bro. It's like it's in the name. You're getting what you're getting. If you don't like it, don't get it. But some people enjoy it, right? So
No, that is true. Like I know a lot of people who
yeah,
actually enjoy that nostalgic form of wrestling.
right. And when you're having a like a pay-per-view or a card, Ryback, he is good enough. And also, who doesn't like doing the feed me more chant? He has a catchphrase. But trying to go back to what you were saying, that there's certain people where Dave Meltzer's just like, oh, he's the greatest of all time. And it's just like, what? What? How?
Anyone who's like Japanese or Canadian.
Yeah, and they use the same freaking move.
Yeah, because they all come from like a similar type of dojo.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of knees, a lot of elbows, and there's a good amount of like submission moves, which I enjoy. I will agree with Dave Meltzer. when that Japanese style of wrestling, there's always a nice little twist somewhere. Like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Like the sequence
Yes,
between
yes.
Will Ospreay and Danielson, like when he hit him in the face with a running knee, and like they had like that sequence like earlier on in the match, that was great. So he has a good point. Like they capitalize on their sequence, and they also throw a little twist in there for you.
Yeah. That see, Dave Meltzer, when he talks, it's kind of like that person that's like he's a cool dude. And there's times where it's like, okay, I can see why that was a great match. I can see why you gave it that kind of rating. But sometimes he's that guy who just sneezes without covering his face, where it's just like makes you be like, really, bro? Just
Yeah,
like,
so Dave Meltzer is kind of like a pretentious film critic. You know how there's film critics who will only watch movies if they're like from like Europe or the Middle East and they're
mm,
hard to watch and they're about like, really absurd things.
yeah.
Kind of like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I typically enjoy indie films on the whole, but if there's a good Marvel film like Logan or Captain America 2, I'll give that praise. Like, oh no, those are solid movies. And some film critics will never watch a Disney movie or Disney produced film.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Dave Meltzer doesn't back up what he says, does he?
Um,
Is he more? Because I only see the ratings. Don't get me like I don't remember what he said about Trick Williams, but I know he tried to bury Trick Williams
mhm.
and made me quite like do the people's eyebrow, where I was like,
I think that and the CM Punk thing
mm,
was very questionable because he said there was a loud "fuck you" CM Punk chant during the AEW Wembley footage episode,
mm.
and you heard one guy saying "fuck CM Punk," but he kind of blew that proportion. I think he takes things that are factual, but he kind of blows it up because he thinks that they're like it's a bigger thing than it might possibly be. Um, when it comes to ratings and numbers, he's really good with that. I don't even know how to even break that down. So I'm just taking
I
that.
think he's just makes stuff up. Because people will always question me, right? When I give
Mhm,
out my ratings, especially with AEW, it's like majority of my ratings is 7 out of 10 when it comes to AEW matches. And it was just like it's just like I can't really explain it, but it just feels right.
mhm,
And but I know what makes me get 10 out of 10. The fact that I didn't even go through my phone. The fact that I was so locked in, the fact where I'm thinking like this person's gonna win, or boom, oh snap, I was not expecting that. You know,
like
I,
like um like an example of that. I had a group of friends over here, and we saw an AEW pay per view. It was the match where the Lucha Bros finally beat the Young Bucks. Everyone in this
damn, that was
room,
that must have been a long time ago then.
yeah. But I remember it was a moment where like everyone just started clapping. Like
Right,
we were locked in, and we all it was just clapping for 5 full minutes straight. And to me, that is a 5-star match because the fact that it gets you invested and you're just like happy that like these guys fucking did it and the way they
right.
did it. To me, when people are like hugging each other and clapping, that is a 5 or above match.
It's something like that makes you feel. And when it comes to spots,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's a nice performance, but you didn't make me feel anything. That majority, that's why everybody has issues with AEW, because it's like we can't look back in time and be like, oh yeah, that match happened. Or did that match happen? I didn't even know that match happened. Because it's like sometimes you forget because it doesn't make you feel anything. you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's why majority of my favorite matches of AEW is still like involves like John Moxley and Bryan Danielson and MJF because it's like they made me feel something while I'm watching them, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And where everybody else, it's like I don't feel anything, I don't feel like it's just like you're just doing moves for the people who for the internet crowd, basically. You're doing it for their
Yeah, there's
entertainment
some truth to that. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and not me. It's kind of like going to a kid's birthday party where it's just like I'm just here for the kids, That's all I'm
I'm gonna
here.
hang out.
I'm Yeah, I'm gonna hang out, but I'm mainly here for the kids. and you know they got a clown or something. And it's like I know you're not here to entertain me. To the kids, they think you're great, you're funny, but for me, you're eh. But that's not. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
shit on you because that's not your job. Your job is not to entertain me; it's to entertain the kids. So like
Right. Yeah.
I get that, right? But with the AEW wrestlers, they just go again. They just go out there and they're just thinking like one, I hate that they think they're the shit just because people are reacting to them. And I think people in AEW, they just have too much ego.
I
That's how I
think
feel.
they a lot of them are really young people. And I think that because
They know
they went through,
everything.
and I think also because they went through certain indie circuits, they carry that mentality over. Like a lot of AEW just adopts a lot of the indies like mentality, and sometimes
Yeah.
certain indies have great mentality in certain things. I think Ring of Honor has a great mentality on technical wrestling, on
Mhm.
pure classic style wrestling. I think PWG has, I'm not sure if it's great, but it's an interesting way of doing shock value. So like, wow, that was pretty. They're really about offensive, like promos here and there.
And see, that's the thing. So AEW is basically Ring of Honor, PWG, and like all the indie circus to got like combined, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ring of Honor and PWG. When you there's things that they couldn't do in Ring of Honor,
Mm-hmm.
but they were able to do in PWG. And that was fine for them because it's like cool. Cuz that's fine because, they know the difference of the crowd. The crowd from Ring of Honor and PWG is like different.
Mm-hmm.
And so cuz in PWG, guess what do they want? They just want spot fest.
Oh
Ring of
yeah.
Honor, they want storyline and pure wrestling. They want wrestling. And so, but AEW, it's like both, and they're trying to entertain the
The indie
both
darling
audience.
fan base.
Yeah. And it sucks because it's like you have fans that do want the storyline and stuff, and they do give us the story here and there, but they just don't really follow it through. And to the point where it's like, oh, you have a pay-per-view coming up this month, and this is your storyline. And then it's like, oh, they're not going to be on this pay-per-view. So why do you have this storyline then?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, isn't the storyline to lead up to the pay-per-view, or something, or to lead up to the next big pay-per-view? But if apparently your big, all your pay-per-views are big, like why are you dragging it out? And then when it comes to matches, just matches alone, it's like, damn, dude, you guys had like 5 matches in like 1 month. Why? What's going on? You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I don't know. AEW, I think Tony Khan, I'm pretty sure we can all just admit it. Tony Khan's the issue, man. He's a fanboy. That's all it is. MJF
I,
been
I
saying it for years. He's a mark.
yeah, I will say I definitely appreciate Tony Khan. I definitely respect like him because how much he loves professional wrestling. He treats it as an art form.
Right.
I just think that he could benefit by having a co-booker, like somebody who has like a different perspective, but like they can challenge each other and like really break something down. Like, does this make sense? Kind of thing. I think if he has like a co-pilot, he could benefit a lot.
He
I
did. He did, but he's not using them no more. That's what Cody Rhodes was for. That's what Kenny Omega was there. And he
to a
kicked him
degree,
to the
CM
curb.
Punk, at least on the collision side of things, because he
Yeah.
had a pretty good chunk of creative control. Um, I will say this: AEW, I think they may not a pioneer, but they reinforce certain things in wrestling that I'm glad that we're seeing more often of. Like I think if it wasn't for Tony Khan, I'm not sure Triple H would be so open to be working with Impact. You know what I
That's
mean?
true. Yeah, no, yeah,
I
100%. 100%.
like I think a lot of things that AEW has done, whether they'll admit it or not, the review is like, let me do that. But in a slightly different way, where it's enough where they can kind of like backpedal, but Triple H is like, okay, this whole Forbidden Door, even though he hates that name, he said there's something to that. Like it adds
Yeah.
value to your brand and your matches. So I think Tony definitely is ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. It's kind of like him driving to the curve is questionable,
Right.
but he can see that curve a mile away,
He
which I
hits that
appreciate.
curve. Yeah, that's the issue. He sees, oh, hey, I'm about to hit that curve. Maybe I should go back in my lane. No, he stays, hits that curve, backs up, and then just keeps driving. Where it's like, if you saw the curve, you could have
Mhm.
just turn the wheel a little bit. That's all
So
you needed to
speaking on
do.
that, I think so. I don't know if you saw a lot of the press videos after Dynasty, but it feels that like I think Tony took the reception from the Wembley footage, the MMA Hour interview, as
Mm.
well as Triple H going on a weird rant. It was kind of weird. Triple H spent a good chunk of his WrestleMania weekend just hating on other people. Like, bro, worry about yourself. It seemed that he
Right.
was very upset he couldn't get Okada and Will. Like he was really annoyed by that. And apparently, I don't know if you heard this, but Shawn Michaels really wanted Okada. Like he really likes him a lot.
Oh yeah, I
So,
heard. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
so I think Okada would have been like the face of NXT for a hot minute. But from the Dynasty post pay per view interviews and like the press junket, um, I think Tony Khan taking a step back and being more playful and more focused on the brand because like when Tony Storm had that little jab at Cody Rhodes, it was a funny jab, but also it was like harmless enough. It was like, oh, that's a witty jab instead of him being so desperate of like being so annoyed. Like when Tony Khan did that one interview and he's like, I'm not taking shit laying down. Like, no, that's not how you handle criticism
Why
at
is he
the
even there? Like these post conference or whatever. It's like, dude, why are you there?
I think before he
Leave.
wanted to defend himself, but now it seems like he's now kind of rolling with the punches. Like when Tony Storm like looked at him, he's like, "Hey, no matter what, I'll never invite you to be in the ring with me if I win a big match." As kind of a jab at Cody Rhodes, but also a jab at Tony Khan. So I think now he's kind of trying to roll with the punches, which I think
Right.
is healthier to do.
Yeah.
And Will Ospreay saying, "I don't want to stoop to that level ever again" because he had that promo on Triple H. I'm like,
Which,
that's good.
dude, that was like, I could
Bad.
not, that was bad on Will Ospreay because it's like, first of all, you don't know how to talk on the mic.
Well, he's
Don't
British,
talk.
it's a
Yeah.
different, it's a different
Don't,
style.
but regardless, you can't talk shit. And then of all things you said, that was like, bro, that was so 1999. Like, yeah, I sometimes I
Yeah,
forget about the age difference, and it was just like, dude, that was you dropped the ball on that. It wasn't like, damn, you insulted him. It was just more of a, dude, that's
wait,
his
middle school?
wife. Yeah, like, are you in middle school's kind of promo?
Like
And
Triple
also,
H
that's his
buried
wife.
himself.
Yeah.
The thing is, Triple H already made himself look bad when he did that interview. He's like, you don't want to do the hustle and grind. Well, come over. Don't come over here then. It's like, oh, you made yourself look bad. Period. Will didn't have to say anything. If Will left it
It
alone,
had nothing to do with Will Ospreay. It was just the fact that it could have applied to Okada. It could have applied to, yeah, it could have applied to Will, but it could have applied to Sasha as well.
I think Will let the Twitter community convince him it was all on him. I think
Mhm.
he thought that Twitter was right on how WrestleMania weekend, the criticism coming from that was all directly at him. I think he was too much on Twitter that weekend. That was part of the problem.
Yeah, and when he should have been working. This is why I feel like what
But
bothers
again, going
me.
back,
No, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, but going back to what I was saying, the Dynasty press junket was like, oh, they're now kind of just like when he said, I'm not talking about that. I'm the best wrestler in the world, and I want to keep proving that. Okay, that's
Mhm.
how you should do a promo. That's how you should talk. I think Tony Khan took WrestleMania weekend and it was like something has to change here, dude. Like I can't keep working like this. So I'm hoping that the Dynasty press junket is like a foreshadowing like how they're gonna handle promos and criticism moving forward. And also the fact that like people are still talking about Dynasty, like even today, and Swerve Strickland shows you like they did something right. Like
Yeah,
my old supervisor from a previous job messaged me saying they may be the greatest pay per view they have ever done in that company's brand. Like that is probably the best pay per view AEW has put on, and all their heavy hitters were gone because of injuries, illness, or just scheduling.
yeah.
Like you
I
basically gave a guy who went through the trenches the world championship in a banger of a match. Like that's what AEW should do. You groom your own stars.
the
So I
on
think this is a moment that they're core correcting everything.
the only bad thing I gotta say was Jack Perry's return was very unnecessary, but it did not outshadow Swerve's title win.
Oh, I thought differently. I thought that they were kind of laying in the foundation for that with EVPs doing kind of like, "We love your work, go cry me a river" into the camera. So to me, like that's a natural conclusion. And also from a writing standpoint, FTR are still viewed as CM Punk guys. So of
Mm.
course Jack Perry hates these guys because they're an extension of the person he hates. And I gotta say, from what I read online, he thought he's gonna walk out to Chicago with nuclear heat, like John Cena at One Night Stand, and the fact that Chicago like loved him and like his shit like sold out the night of. I think he's like, okay, he has something special here, and I hope that he
Wait, John
rolls it
Cena or
with Charlotte.
Jack Perry?
Oh, so I was saying how like Jack Perry was gonna walk out into Chicago, kind of like
Mm.
how John Cena came to Philadelphia
Right, I
at.
got that part.
But the fact that he was beloved the night of, and his merchandise has been selling like crazy. I think he sold out the night of at
Jack Perry.
Windy City. Yeah, at Windy
Okay.
City Riot. So I think he has something special. Like he has this momentum, and like
Yeah,
it's a defining moment for him moving forward.
he's a great guy. He's a great worker. I think it was just the whole CM Punk stuff, and that it was just like what. So what I was trying to say earlier was you could.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the Big Show at? Where's Christian Cage? Where's
Have you seen his legs, dude?
who?
Big
Big
Show's
Show?
legs.
Nah.
He may just have a hard time just walking again. Because like
Oh
when he was
snap.
wearing that singlet, they're like warped together almost. It's you see
Yeah, that
like
does happen when you're that tall.
look at Kevin Nash. I think his
Yeah.
left knee is like just like bended
But
inwards.
but regardless, why are you not talking to these young guys saying, "Hey, this is why I'm here. I'm here to put you
I
on
have
the
a
right
theory on
path.
that. I actually have a theory on that.
Tell me what it
The
is."
the veterans who grew up in like the wrestling business at a different era, they are the minority in a sea of indies. They have no idea how the indie people think or live their lives or like what they had to go through.
Mm.
But since they are the minority,
But
how are you gonna?
AEW is not an indie company. I
Yeah,
will
but thing is,
understand if it was. I will understand if they were in TNA. Bro, how come there's no issues in TNA wrestling then?
got me there, man. That's a good one. Yeah, TNA is such a weird place where like you think all the shit would happen there, but
TNA was supposed
fair
to
enough.
die 10 years ago.
Yeah,
It's still going on today.
yeah. Like Matt Hardy just came back to TNA recently. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and the fact that it, it's I think it just comes down to not even like the veterans and the indies. I think it's just management. Like, hey guys, let's just work something out. Where Tony Khan, I love that guy. I'm glad he created AEW. I'm glad he's
Yeah.
running it
Yeah.
to a degree. But you gotta be a boss. Like to a degree, I don't think you gotta be Vince McMahon, but you gotta be a Shawn Michael or Triple H type. Like Triple H is very honest and like he tries to like work with everyone because he gets it.
Vince McMahon wasn't even Vince McMahon. He was Shawn Michaels when he
Mm-hmm.
first started running the company. He was friends with everybody. Nothing wrong with that. But like you said, eventually you have to be a boss. And you lost so many talents already, then it's like, and then look, you're still going through drama. You had to use footage from what CM Punk in it for what? Like how, what did that do? Nothing. It just made you guys look bad. Did it sell out more ticks?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How well, like, was if the arena was sold out, right? Was it very necessary? And then if it wasn't, let's just say they only drew like 3,000 people, bro, and that footage helped you sell tickets. That's sad. It's like there was no way of nothing was going to change. Like there was no win for them on
Like I
showing that
believe
footage.
the rumor of him having like buyer's remorse, like immediately after it aired, like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, cause he deleted every. I even did a reaction video to it. I was gonna
Mhm.
upload it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait 2 days to upload it because I feel like he's gonna block everybody, and 2 hours later, he blocked everything. Everybody who used that footage is it's been got hit with copyrights, so they had to delete it.
Mhm. Again, that was kind of sad that it happened that way, but I'm hoping Dynasty is like It's kind of like Dynasty is that moment in Impact where they're like, okay, Global Force is now working. We need to go back to being Impact. Like, I'm hoping Dynasty is like we need to go back and try to fix our problems.
Focus on yourself. Stop
Mhm.
mentioning like, oh my gosh, I love MJF. I hate when people say, oh, MJF is great on the mic. No, he's not. He's just a loud kid talking about WWE,
I don't
and
know. I
that's
thought his
it.
promos with CM Punk and Dean Ambrose were pretty good.
But he can't mention WWE.
Okay, fair enough.
If yeah,
I'll give you that.
so it's just like it's like Batman, or it's like Batman talking about Marvel. What? Doesn't it doesn't work here, buddy? Just like
If it's
so.
sporadic, it can add more depth to the promo. Like when John Cena, he rarely ever did this, but when he would reference TNA, you're like, oh shit, like it went up a notch.
Yeah,
Like if it's sprinkled across, it works. But if you're like heavily seasoning it, then yeah, you have a point there. It
but
can
that makes
definitely
that
damper it.
but regardless, it's just like what annoys me is why are you, oh, screw the other company, but you keep bringing it up. It's just like it got to the point, you know what? It got to a point where I used to talk shit about my ex, and I still talk about her. Where it's just like, is she even that bad?
Or
Like I
maybe I'm
keep
the problem moving
maybe I'm
forward.
the problem because to this day, well, not to this day,
Mm-hmm.
at a certain point in my life, I kept talking shit about my ex to the point where I'm like, why do I keep talking about her?
Wait a minute, something ain't
I
right here.
Something is not right here. It's
Well, let me,
either I'm the problem or I can't move. I have to drop her so I can move on.
although, do you ever read when people talk shit about another company because you're like, did they say no to you? Like the Goldberg situation, I was like, why are you so
It
mad?
it's like going up to a hot ass girl. Hey, what's up, little mama? Let me holler at you for a minute. Ew, no, ew, bitch. I didn't want you anyways. I like that. Good job, Marcos. Good job. Good job. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't thought about that. That could be the case, but at the same time for MGF, it was just like, bro, shut up. You are good on the mic, but at the same time, majority of the time, it's kind of like telling somebody, hey, rap, and give me like rap something for me, and then they keep dissing the other company like they're different,
Mm-hmm.
record label, and it's like, can you rap about anything else
It kind of
besides
makes you
dissing
appreciate.
somebody?
It kind of makes you appreciate the promos of like other wrestlers where they don't reference WWE. Like
Right.
Kenny Omega, like he was such a great heel because like he
Oh
had this legacy
yes.
built into him. He's like, dude, I am a god
He
of
did
wrestling.
not
Yeah.
need Don Callis to talk for him. Kenny Omega as a heel, money. As a baby face, bro, you need somebody to talk for you.
As a babyface, he works when he does like that comedic route or as, like, as part of a team. Like he's great as like a
Mm,
6-man player or even a tag team.
yeah.
But as a heel, that's when you like become like he elevates himself. Like I so man, like I feel like a heel Kenny Omega versus like Okada, that just makes money. But
Dude,
speaking of heels,
Okada is a heel, bro. I freaking love him.
oh, when he goes
Uh,
full like Rainmaker.
yeah.
But so speaking of heels, I have a theory that, it came up yesterday. I was thinking about Dynamite. I mean, Dynasty. So that match between Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson, the reason why it ended the way it did, and then Will Ospreay going on the press junket saying, "I'm going to retire the Tiger Driver '91," I think.
He should have retired that move a long time ago.
So I think this is what they're doing. I think he's not going to use the move for a while until he meets someone at the level of Kenny Omega or Dean Ambrose, and it comes to a point where he's like, "Damn, I can't beat this guy. I'm
Mm,
struggling here." So they'll have a match where the storytelling is going to be like he's going to be struggling throughout the entire match. He's like, "I just can't put this guy away," and he's like, "You know what? Fuck it." He pulls out the 91, drops it on him, and gets the win. Following week, that whoever his opponent was will have a promo saying, "You couldn't beat me without that move. You're nothing without that move. You can't survive without that move." He's like, "You know what? Bet sequel match, a submissions only match. Will Ospreay
mm.
loses that one." And the guy taunts him for another 2 weeks about like, "See, you're nothing without that move." third match, make it a fight, a street fight or a hardcore match. Will Ospreay goes full menace and just does nothing but 91s on his opponents for like 5 minutes straight.
Jeez.
And then end of the match, he wins, but he becomes a full heel Ospreay. I think that's where I think he's planting the seed like this mega heel turn.
Yeah, because I like that. That's actually not a bad idea. I don't know to wait for it until he turns heel. I would say do a friendly competition. Like for example, let's just say Brian Danielson. Let's say he did not hit that move, or obviously he did hit that move because you
Mm-hmm.
gotta. It's part of the storyline, right? And they continue the back and forth. Okay, Brian Danielson wins. Brian Danielson wins again, back to back. Wins. Then give the title to Brian Danielson, and then have Will Ospreay and Brian Danielson go at it one more time. And that's where he does the heel turn and hits the move. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I wouldn't have him turn heel after the move, have him turn heel like that day he hits that move. You
Oh,
know,
okay, okay.
that's what I would do. Like
Would you
the
do it where like he's kind of like turning via social media and interviews?
no. I
No, okay.
hate when people do that. There's some people, if you're really good on the mic, here's my thing. And if you could go out there and draw tickets without doing a single move, you could
Mm-hmm.
do whatever and say whatever you want on social media, especially what you were just about to say, like a little hints here and there. Yes. But if all you do is like all you could do is wrestle in the ring, then no. Just show it and turn
Okay.
heel what you're good at. If you're good at the ring, that's when you turn heel, you know? It's kind of like Will Osprey. Will Osprey would never hit a low blow. He shouldn't have to hit a low blow, right?
But then anyone could be his low blow.
Yeah. And then boom, low blow on anybody, and that's gonna shock everybody. You know, that's why I hate when like there's just so much ways of turning heels for certain people, but like for Will Osprey, for him to ban that move and to
Mm-hmm.
like bring it back as his way of like, hey, I just turned heel. That's a good fit. I forgot who else got their moves banned. It was Seth Rollins, right? His move
Oh
got
yeah,
banned.
the curb stomp because
Yeah,
Vince was worried that kids were doing it to each other. They didn't want like any issues with like I guess like lawsuits or like even though they do like way worse moves, there's something about like the face and the name. Vince just didn't like it.
yeah, but then they were able to bring it back in a I think he had a no disqualification match with Dolph
Mm-hmm.
Ziggler where he brought the move back and people had like a great reaction. And I guess Seth Rollins and somebody else, I'm assuming Triple H, were able to convince Triple H where it's like, who has gotten hurt from this move? You
Right.
know?
It's kind of like the shooting star press. It was banned for like years until Evan Bourne came out and they're like, no, I can do this move perfect. This is my move. And they're like,
Yeah.
fuck it, go for it.
Yeah, because Billy Kidman, he would do it like I can't really like Kurt, he'll turn a little
Well,
bit.
also he did gain weight as he got older too, which
Yeah,
made those
oh
moves
yeah.
hard for.
Not
So I think it
yeah,
was a weight issue more than anything.
that's true. And I to be honest, I never understood why he still needed to do the shooting star press because what's it called? I enjoyed the sky high way more.
Oh,
Because that's
the KD bomb or something like that.
K no, BK bomb.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Billy Kidman bomb. And yeah, I like that more because that's where, when you said the whole gaining weight,
Mm-hmm.
he was bulking up. And so that's why I thought like, oh, okay, cool. Like, why are you still doing the shooting star press? And I think he
It's
was
because
doing
like
that
you know
with
he knows that people get the wow value from it, and I will say like I'm glad that the X division and cruiserweight people they've kind of learned you don't always have to use a crazy flying move, even like a technical move or a fast move like a running knee works just as well. And I
yeah.
think the cruiserweight division has evolved since then.
It used to be like back then, like Billy Kidman, he had the shooting star press. And he'll do like basic high moves, missile drop kick, crossbody, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But wrestlers these days, it's like they got to do like it's like I feel like every wrestler these days is a cruiserweight X division guy that wants to be on the main event, or
Yeah,
majority
that
of
makes
them
people
are.
like Walter stand out because
Yeah.
he has his power move. When
Mhm.
the thing about Walter, no two matches he uses like the same formula. Is he gonna beat you with a chop? Is he gonna power bomb you? Is he gonna just knock you out cold? You have no idea. He'll do what he has to beat you specifically down. And I think that's
Yeah.
what makes Walter so great.
He doesn't rely on one move. And that's the other thing I will say I do enjoy about Will Ospreay, where Will Ospreay can finish you off with the blade elbow and
Hmm.
also the whatever the power bomb that he picks you up and turns it into a neck breaker.
Yeah,
I forgot what he calls
it's
it.
almost like it's like a corkscrew flying cutter. I don't know how to even explain that. But no, it
Yeah.
looks beautiful. I love that thing.
Yeah,
But
it's like when he hits that move. Oh, hitting blade, that's what he calls the elbow. Why what does he call the other one? Oh, and he also has the springboard cutter. So it's like Will Ospreay has like so many moves that he could finish you off with, and and I like that. I like when somebody has multiple finishers or signature moves because it looks like, oh, I can finish you off here, I can finish you off there. Whereas, like for example, Will Ospreay's facing somebody where he can't pick him up with that. Cool, I got the cutter, and also I got the elbow, you know, and the elbow
which I
can
think
knock.
Dean Ambrose is like that too. He
Yeah,
can kind of like just make you tap out in a different way, or it just gives you the paradigm shift.
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Hmm.
he hasn't hit that move in a while.
I'm sure he probably saves it for like a special match or as a way to kind of make his opponent look strong, even though he's getting the win.
Mm.
I will say I'm glad that he won the New Japan World Championship. I understand the criticism that he's getting from that.
What kind is he getting?
This Japanese wrestler who's still signed to New Japan said, it's nothing against Hobbs, but the fact that this guy who works for AEW is getting a world championship match so soon just for being on the show, where in Japan you have to work your way up for a world title match. He says it's like,
Mm.
couldn't they fly someone in, or maybe get someone who used to be affiliated with the company, so it feels somewhat kind of organic. The fact that you're just giving Hobbs a part like a world title match is kind of offensive, and I'm like, that's fair.
Yeah, that is fair. I didn't heard anything about that. Uh, but when I found out that John Moxley was gonna give he was gonna give a title shot to Will Hobbs or Powerhouse Hobbs, I was just like, why?
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if it's in the contract for Hobb. Like he needs one world title per year, maybe. I have no idea. It feels random. Um, it's what's crazy? My universe mode paired those two up last night. That's kind of funny.
That's from the
Like,
WWE 2K.
yeah, you know how sometimes you accelerate in the calendar year just to see where it takes you. And I
Oh yeah,
accelerated
yeah,
it by
yeah.
2 weeks, and they just paired me with Hobbs and Dean Ambrose. That was kind of funny. But the thing is, here's the thing though. I feel like when you have two world championships on a show, you gotta treat them both respectfully and acknowledge each other heavily. I think when Kenny was like the belt collector, I think he treated he was TNA, New Japan, and I think he treated Japanese
No, he
titles.
wasn't. I don't think he was in New Japan. I think it was a AAA.
Oh, Triple A, yeah.
Yeah, because
I
that
think
was
he
during
treated,
that was during the pandemics.
yeah, you're right, you're right. I think he treated the Triple A pretty respectfully. I don't think he treated the TNA championship respectfully.
I think the other way around.
Really?
Yeah, because remember it was during the pandemic, so he couldn't fly to Mexico.
Hmm.
So he did partner up with he did show up a lot in TNA because again everything was taped. So he was there a good amount. I don't recall if he ever wrestled on a television show, but he did work their big pay-per-views Rebellion and Slammiversary. And then he did the premium live events. I think he did Under Siege and oh, Against All Odds, but that's when Moose went to the AEW when they were in Florida at that football stadium, and
Hmm.
that's where he
Oh yeah.
faced Kenny Omega. So Kenny Omega did help out with TNA a bit, especially during that time. It was during the pandemic, so they needed a big star, and Kenny Omega was that star for them.
But here's the difference. He dropped the AAA title to a AAA wrestler. He did not drop the TNA championship to a TNA wrestler.
He dropped it to a
Christian,
AEW wrestler.
who had
Uh,
a good relationship, so he was able to go back and forth.
mhm.
But I think if he gave that championship win to um Alexander, that would have made him to a fucking star. I mean, he did on his own. Once he got
Right.
Christian, he had that whole year-long reign, and he
Mhm.
built himself up. But I think if he had Kenny Omega as a win over Kenny, it would have even like helped him out even further.
Well, so here's the thing about that. One, Kenny Omega got hurt. But two, the original plan for Bound for Glory was if they would have gotten him, it was going to be Jay White versus Kenny Omega at Bound for Glory for the TNA World Heavyweight title. And we were going to get Josh versus Christian Cage at
Mm-hmm.
Bound for Glory still. Uh, and then Andrade's, oh, the original person was supposed to be Andrade's, was supposed to sign with TNA as well. So we were supposed to get Andrade's and Jay White. But Jay White ended up showing up, and then I guess there was some tour dates or whatever. They was like it couldn't work out for Jay White.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't work out. Kenny Omega wasn't 100%, and he dropped the belt to Christian Cage, and then Christian Cage dropped the belt to Josh Alexander. I don't know. My issue was Kenny Omega was still able to work, and I was like, why couldn't it just been a triple threat match?
Oh, where he kind of lets the other two guys do the bulk of the work, and
Yeah,
he just takes the pin.
I wouldn't say take the pin, but he could have been like, could have just been there. He could have do a couple
Mm-hmm.
moves. He could have just taken the big moves, from Josh and Christian, and then just roll out of the way,
Yeah,
and
you know
then
what? Just give him an angle slam from the third turnbuckle, and that would make sense for why he has to roll out of the ring. Like he's done for.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he could have been there for a while. Yeah, I feel like it should have been a triple threat, or we should have got in. Um, it's one of those things because it's like I figured like what you just mentioned, like I knew that as soon as that happened. It was just like he's an AEW guy. But it's like at the same time, I'm happy for him. And it's nothing new to me because we had multiple guys like Mustafa Ali. He's not even signed with TNA, but he's the X Division champion. So it's like that's where I was kind of like, okay, this it's nothing new. I'm pretty sure Samoa Joe was the first person. He was signed with Ring of Honor and he was the X Division champion for
Oh, I mean
TNA.
that goes back years. Like wasn't
And that was like
Mike
oh five.
Awesome? But no, but remember back in like the '90s, wasn't Mike Awesome a like wasn't he like on WCW with an ECW championship, but his contract expired?
Oh, I
Like he was
think yeah,
basically
was he? Yeah, yeah. No, I don't think I think he was still their champion. And that's why WCW made that WCW hardcore title.
hmm.
Because it was mainly for him, and it was like, but he's not really a hardcore guy.
Like he's a great wrestler, but they kept putting him in boxes. And like they gave him like the worst gimmick. But yeah, yeah. Like
Mm.
that has happened, but it's just like it's something weird has to happen for that even to be possible. Like, it's almost like things have to line up in a specific way. But I
I
mean I
mean,
will
like
say
it
like
worked out. It did work out when Kenny Omega dropped the belt to TNA, and then or to Christian Cage. The only my issue was, um, it happened on Rampage, where it was like I feel like TNA. What they should have done was TNA and AEW should have had a Forbidden Door. You
oh their
know,
own like from
their
their
own,
end of it.
yeah. That should have been their first ever like Forbidden Door TNA versus AEW. That I feel like that's what they should have happened. They could have had, a TNA guy in that ring, in that card. Or they could have do it in a storyline. Christian Cage could have been like, technically, if I win the TNA World Heavyweight title, I'm gonna sign with TNA, until I drop the belt. Something like, they could have worked something out.
Mhm.
But it was just more of a like, oh no, I feel like Christian was never meant to win the title. I feel like Kenny
He
Omega
was the
was just,
guy at the right place, right time, kind of thing.
yeah, kind of, and it was just like, hey, you know what? Let's give the belt to Christian Cage because I feel like he'll help out Josh Alexander more. And also Christian Cage never won the TNA World Heavyweight title or Impact World title. He was only a former NWA champion.
NWA, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's why I was kind of like, okay, I'm okay with it. I'm on board with it. And we had not one, but not two, but three Canadians who won the TNA World title back to back to back. So that's pretty
Fair.
cool. And also, TNA is the only person that could say that I mean, who depending on who John Moxley drops the title to, right? But at the
Hmm.
moment, you had a TNA guy drop the title to a AEW guy who dropped it to another AEW guy to drop it back to a TNA guy. It's like that's something that's like very unheard of. And I don't think we're never going to get something like that ever again. I feel like,
Very rare, like extreme measures, yeah.
yeah, something like that. I feel like that's just going to be too extreme unless it's something like MLW or NWA or something like that. I feel like they'll
Well,
probably do
speaking
it.
of that, not throughout the conversation, um, I don't know if you heard, but NWA seems to now kind of like be working on with the indies now, kind of like getting their fingers in all the pots because I guess their TV deal is just still being delayed or just not happening anytime soon. So now they're
Mm.
like showing up in the indies, like their champion was like down the street here in Franklin Park.
Oh, EC3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's coming back for Highland Park for some show up there. It's
Well, the Billy Corg is that his name? Billy Corgan, whatever.
he owns it, yeah. And I
Yeah,
think he actually lives in Highland Park.
I was gonna say he lives in Illinois. I don't know Highland Park, but yeah, he's from Illinois. And he has great connection with a lot of people here still. Well, just the ones that haven't burned bridges with him. Uh
Yeah. Is there an actual like what exactly happened between him and TNA? Just did him and DC Carter just could not get along or agree eye to eye? Because I
they
stopped
couldn't
watching wrestling around that time, so I'm not sure what
he
happened between them.
from what I could remember was um he invested a lot for the company and he just did not get any money back from it. And so basically Dixie owed him money. And yeah, he just kept changing. He was making so much changes where Dixie was just like this part I'm not too sure about, but
Hmm.
Dixie was like, okay, she went with it, but then there were certain things where it was just like, okay, buddy, you gotta calm down. And then basically when Dixie just basically told him to calm down, that's when he was kind of like, well, if you're not gonna let me do to run like let me do my part for the company, that I want my money back. That's
So money just
basically,
ruined that partnership, basically.
yeah.
Okay.
But he was doing a bad job with TNA wrestling, man. It was his idea to bring in that grand championship,
Oh yeah,
the
for the round
MMA.
point system,
The
something like that.
MMA style. I was like, what the hell is that? So, and he acts, I don't know how true this is, but he
Hmm.
acts, oh my gosh, what's his name? The guy who sings Beautiful People.
Marilyn Manson.
He apparently, allegedly, the dirt sheet at the time was that he asked him to borrow money to
Oh,
host, to invest TNA Bound for Glory 2016. Because if they did not have the funds for it, and he asked them if he would invest, and that's how they were able to get the song Nobody, for the Decay theme song. So that was part of the agreement, and also, gotta pay him back.
right.
I don't know how true that is,
I
but
mean, this is the guy who thought it'd be good for a I was like on a CW network at the time. You have like the camera show Mitchell to just do a line of cocaine.
Yeah.
So you know what? I believe, like, even though Jesse Carter isn't perfect as a writer,
But
she
she
has
admits
like,
her flaws.
yeah. She's like, man, I fucked up, but she has like a this. You should not put this on TV kind of mentality. She knows better. Yeah, you can't do cocaine on fucking public TV.
Yeah. I don't know why. What I don't when I just never it's one of those things where it's just like why?
When I read that, I thought it was a parody or something like that. Like, oh, like maybe it was like a
I wish I
misdirection.
read it. I saw the video. I saw somebody sent it to me, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Like I'm thinking like, oh, James Mitchell is like on a TV show, you know, that's what I'm thinking. Because
Mm-hmm.
they just sent me the clip of him doing cocaine, you know,
Yeah,
allegedly
well, I mean,
doing
it was
cocaine.
clearly fake, but he was trying to emulate
Yes,
cocaine.
yes.
But you're on a public TV show, like, you're
In a
on mainstream
wrestling, yeah,
TV.
wrestling company. And regardless, yes, it was entertaining and it wasn't real. But bro, you can't be doing drugs like that.
Maybe on a pay per view level, I'll give you that. Sure.
I don't even recommend it. Why would you risk that? Who is that
I mean, I'm saying
for?
you could do on a pay per view because I don't think they
Yes,
have a
you can.
rating.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
I
right.
don't think you should, but you could.
Yeah. It's just like what's the build up for that? What do you
Cocaine on a
what,
pole match,
yeah, like what's the
rehab on a pole match. I have no idea, dude.
and he was just
Um,
doing it. What was the reason for it? Like I will understand, like, oh hey, the guy you manage just won the world title and you're trying to celebrate, you know what I mean?
I kind of, I really wish Abyss would do interviews because I know he's a producer for WWE, but I would kill for
Oh,
his thoughts on that.
dude,
Like that, I
I'm
would
waiting.
want like.
I'm waiting for Joseph Park to be on television for WWE. What is the holdup? He did great work during the pandemics with AJ. He did a little interview with AJ.
Mhm.
And it was just to me, it was just like, bro, where's the holdup, man? Bring Joseph Park, man.
Man, he's
Bring
probably shot. He got no
Abyss.
teeth. Remember, he got no teeth left.
He got that WWE money now.
No, I'm sure now he has like dentures, but
Yeah.
for a while, dude had like no teeth left because all the injuries.
Yeah, that dude went
Um,
through a lot. He went through
but
a
you know
lot for
what?
TNA wrestling.
That dude, he deserves any praise he gets. Like he was their Kane, he was their Kane and their Mankind for like the longest time.
Yeah. He's definitely one of the OGs. I'm happy that he got inducted to the TNA Hall of Fame. But yeah, I wish he's one of those guys that I wish WWE. I mean, there's probably a possibility now, but there's no reason for him to come back because he's already been inducted to the Hall of Fame. But
Hmm.
I feel like Abyss is one of those guys where I feel like he can't show up to TNA wrestling here and there, choke slam somebody and leave,
Right. I will
you
say, I
know.
think Triple H is pretty fond of TNA. I think he kind of likes them for what they are. So I think,
He never had an issue with TNA because you know why? TNA kept their mouth shut.
you know what? Yeah, like they probably have like some like the best business ethics as a company. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah,
never burn their bridges. Like,
they don't.
I mean, I even like the whole Monday Night Wars. That was kind of Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff idea, so they can't put the blame on those two. But outside of them employing Hulk Hogan, they were pretty like,
That was just them to prove that they were a draw, and it was just like
no, they were not.
they were not. Yeah.
But yeah, no, they had really good ethics with how they ran their companies. I think that's why people keep going back to TNA. Like it may not pay you the best, but your work ethic and your mentality are gonna be in a good place.
Yeah, like Eddie Edwards, I even told him myself when I finally met him,
Hmm.
right? And I was just like, at the time he was heading towards it, but I was like, I'm like, when am I gonna see you again? So I was
Hmm.
like, so I just told him, I'm like, oh hey man, thank you for like staying with TNA Wrestling. I'm a big fan, followed you since Ring of Honor,
Hmm.
PWG. Thank you for staying with TNA. Appreciate for staying for TNA for 10 years. Like you're and he looked at me, he's like, what? I was like, yeah, man, you've been with the company for 10 years. He's like, damn, I've been in the company for 10 years. He's like, damn, I didn't even knew that. He looked at Alicia. He's like, I've been with TNA for 10 years. And it was just like, he was shocked that I knew that. So I was just like, oh, cool. I got like that moment with him. You
Dude, he's
know,
one of those guys where like I just love because he's so down to earth and just honest too. Like I don't know if you said, but I don't know if you heard. He said like right before AEW and like after NWA, he was like it wasn't working out. I was like, you know what? I have enough money where I can buy a cabin in the woods and just work some like day labor job and just do that for the rest of my life. But he doesn't really like people, believe it or not. He's kind of like Brock Lesnar.
he's like Brock Lesnar, yeah. He
And the
yeah,
fact that
he's
he's so
a
honest
humble
about it.
guy. He's a humble guy. He's the locker room leader for TNA wrestling.
Oh, one, I can see that. Also, I think people in wrestling respect someone if they know how to fight. Like Eddie Kingston knows how to fight.
Yeah.
Like he got hands. So I think that helps out him being the leader. Like I think if you have hands, you have a voice in the locker room.
I feel it sucks. The one guy I wish would just stay. I understand why he's a paramedic, but Davey Richards, when I found out that Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards were joining TNA Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, whatever, I was like, those are the guys. They're going to be the face of the company. They're not going anywhere. They're not. And look, Eddie Edwards still around. David Richards would still be around, but for him, it was just more of a um it was kind of like a rush for him when it came to wrestling. It
Mm-hmm.
was just to like let out some anger and all that. And it was his passion. He wanted to be the best, and he became one of those guys, that is the best. It sucks because it's like, bro, right now is the perfect time because it's like,
He could have
you
been the
know,
TNA Brian Danielson,
yeah, he could have been, he could have been the Kurt Angle. Eddie Edwards is like
Tommy Dreamer of
the top,
TNA.
he's the Tommy Dreamer
But
of the
he's happy in
TNA.
that role though. I think he
Yeah,
wants to be in that role.
yeah, that's the role I wanted when I did wrestling. I was like, if I could be the Tommy Dreamer for wherever I work at, I'll be happy with that, Like I'll be
Mm-hmm.
happy, I'll be fine because it shows me that I'm getting paid pretty well, that I'm comfortable basically.
Mm-hmm.
That
And you get to wear a shirt.
yeah, that was the goal too. I was hoping I could just wear a referee shirt, but but like, yeah, even if I had to like go out there and be in full gear, if it's like, if I could just be the Tommy Dreamer, like Kevin Owens, who Kevin Owens is to this day, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, that's who I wanted to be. Where it's just like, hey, we need you to open the show. Okay. Hey, we need you to be in the main event. Okay.
Can you
Like,
jump off a ladder? Cool.
okay.
Can
Like,
you do
yeah.
a 2 out of 3 falls for half an hour? I got you.
Maybe, but I'll do it.
I'll be sweaty, but I'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, you could book the match. I don't know how's that
It
gonna
just
work out.
it kind of sucks that Davey Richards' legacy kind of got sour because I know a lot of things came out because he went through a really bad divorce and a lot of things.
Yeah,
So it kind of sucks how like a lot of his private life got public, like put out there. Kind
yeah,
of like Moose. Like I don't know if you knew this, but like Moose couldn't travel too many places because when he was younger, and I think he was part of a football league, he was like in a bad breakup, and I guess he was arrested for possible domestic
oh
violence.
snap.
And I don't know what came of it. I mean, I guess he wasn't like acquitted or charged or anything, but like that happened when he was young. But the fact that like when he became a wrestler, he just couldn't travel certain places because when you have a record, you can't go to certain countries. And it's
Oh, okay.
unfortunate how like, and I get it. There's certain things when you do when you're younger should follow you because it's like, damn, that's a really big mistake. But with Moose, he said, it was something that happened in my life. I'm over that. I'm a grown man, and I think he was able to bounce back with that.
Yeah, also it's like, whatever that incident happened, was it during a business trip or, personal? I feel like that should factor in too, where it's like, because it's like, hey, I'm just here for business. I'm here for a day or
Mm-hmm.
two and I'm out. It's like, okay, cool. You're here for business. Who's your employer? Obviously give that information out to ensure like, okay, well, we're gonna hold you and your company, accountable if something goes wrong.
I think it depends on the level of violence that's behind it. Like if a wrestler when he was like in his 20 got into a bar fight and like maybe broke someone's jaw
Mhm.
and now they're a wrestler in their 40s and they want to go to Japan, I think that's fine. But if a wrestler like beats his wife into a coma when he's 20, I get why companies like I don't know if I can trust you around divas. You know what I mean? That I
Yeah,
understand. I
yeah,
think
well, yeah, that,
it's
yeah.
the level. It's like a range system. It's the level of violence that goes into the crime you committed.
I wouldn't even
Like
sign somebody that way if that was the
what was that?
case. I don't even think I would sign anybody that put somebody in a coma.
Unless you're like AAA or MLW, they'll take anyone. I hate to say it,
Allegedly,
MLW has
allegedly,
done. Yeah,
allegedly,
yeah, allegedly.
allegedly.
MLW is very forgiving on people, depending on the rumors that are on Twitter. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, that's the other thing too, because if it's on Twitter, it's like, eh. But if it's like, oh, hey, there's actual reports about this, ooh, maybe we
Like
shouldn't do
a
this.
certain heart member who his life got so bad there was a website, is this person in jail yet? And the day he went, the website had to reconfigure itself.
Oh gosh, pro wrestling, darkest moments here.
You know what though? If they can get episode on him, I'm watching that with a thing of popcorn. Like it may be like the high. Like, come on, Dark Side of the Ring season 6. You know, with that one heart member. Tell me you wouldn't watch that live.
If it's the guy who I think you're talking about, does he start with the letter T?
Yes.
Then yes, I will. To be honest, I thought he had his own show already.
Man, I've been kind of out of the Vice Dark Side of the
He
Ring, so he maybe does. I mean, I haven't heard of it,
I'm not
but
saying now, but I feel like he did at a certain point, but around the Jersey Shore time.
oh,
When, yeah,
oh,
that
like
was a
oh
while,
six.
dude. Oh, it's Jersey, what? Goddamn, bro, Jersey Shore did not came out in '06.
I'm sorry, the whole MTV thing, because like my
Yeah,
whole mind of MTV came through Wrestling Society X. You know what I mean?
oh, okay, yeah.
So I use that as a launching off point.
No,
Which, by
Jersey,
the
like,
way, I was a minority. I actually liked that show for what it was, but online people like ripped the hell out of it.
oh
Like it's
yeah.
goofy, but I liked it.
At the time, it was awesome, and it's funny. Yeah, I remember somebody was like saying like, I forgot who it was, but somebody was like, it wasn't towards me,
Hmm.
and it was just saying like, our generation, you and me,
Hmm.
don't like today's wrestling, but used to like the stuff from WSX, right?
Hmm.
So it's
Wrestling
like,
Society X. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like, oh, people used to like that stuff because it was like, yeah, because it was like a 1 hour special once a week kind of deal.
And it was
Not
goofy as hell.
It
Yeah.
was goofy as hell, and we all knew that. We all knew it was goofy. We all knew it was all entertainment. Technically, that was the original Lucha Underground, you know.
Dude,
So
also you could say a pioneer for DDT.
yes, yeah. So it was just like we had. I Man, we gotta go back and appreciate wrestling at that time. We had so much because it's like
Wrestling,
we
yeah.
had so much wrestling that, and it was just like we got a little bit of everything. And I guess that's the issue these days where it's just like that's why I don't have an issue with AEW not having storylines. Because it's like I
Hmm.
get that with WWE, but it's like once in a while you're telling me you can't you can't have a good, decent storyline. You have the wrestlers, and then that was the other issue that you and me didn't really discuss
Hmm.
about what Tony Khan has to be a boss. He lets his wrestlers go up to him to pitch ideas. He doesn't go up to them. So I don't know if you knew that part. So
I did, unfortunately.
they don't have writers. Tony, like for example, Tony Stark, she'll go up to Tony and be like, "Hey, I have this gimmick, I have this idea," and Tony's
Sometimes that works because she knows how to write a good character. But
yeah,
that's unfortunately, it's like some actors can write a good screenplay, but not all actors are writers. It's
yeah.
very rare that they are actually.
Um,
And
I wanted to get your opinion on this because Chris Jericho won the FTR or FTW World Champion.
yeah,
People are saying I'm pretty sure you heard it because you watched the show. They were chanting, "Please retire." What's your thoughts on that? And also, for me, it's unnecessary for he did not need to win the title. I don't,
Hmm.
just like how he defeated Claudio and he won the Ring of Honor title just to drop it back to him. It it didn't do anything for Claudio.
No.
And it's
I
not
think he
going to
just
do
liked the name
anything.
Ocho a lot. I think that's why he did it. He just liked that gimmick,
Yeah, I'm
Ocho.
pretty sure he went up to Tony Khan and be like, "Hey, I have this idea. You know, let me win the Ring of Honor title."
I will say this: Chris Jericho, at the end of the day, will always be in the contendership for being the GOAT. He will always be in a majorities of people Mount Rushmore wrestling.
I want to say
I
that part, but I mean, for some people, yes, sure, I could see that.
I think he has given a lot of classic matches that people will look back fondly on. However, he has
Can those matches
become
be from AEW or are they all from WWE, WCW, and ECW?
majority of them are going to be WWE. Yes, 100%. But I think that he has slowly become the things that he didn't like in WCW. He has become his own Bill Goldberg in a way,
Mhm.
where
Or
I
Hulk
think
Hogan?
yeah, I think he's very creative. I think he's very passionate about wrestling, but he lacks self awareness. I think he doesn't know when to minimize his role and take a step back. I think if Chris Jericho, even back when he dropped the title to Claudio and he just became a Ring of Honor guy, where he kind of just wanted to become like a gatekeeper for Ring of Honor and then groom him for an AEW debut, that would be the perfect spot for him because he has his legacy that is untouchable, but also, okay, I'm just gonna help these kids learn a thing or two. So when they
But
go on,
he's not teaching them
yeah, exactly. I'm
anything.
saying, but if
Yeah.
he demoted himself to Ring of Honor when he dropped that championship to Claudio, I think that would have been the best route for him. Instead, he keeps demanding screen time. He's demanding storylines, and unfortunately, some things
That's not going anywhere.
exactly. But thing is, it's because now he has all this exposure, and he's not at the level he used to be. He's now constantly throwing himself into a fire of criticism, and he doesn't see that. Doesn't
His
acknowledge that.
stock value is dropping. Is
And
dropping in my opinion.
unfortunately, again, allegedly, people don't like his backstage behavior. And all right, like clearly, I think he should just take a smaller role where he's very much just a booker or a gatekeeper, and then maybe down the road you can kind of do an interviews like where he tells his side of the stories. But bro, when you have a lot of these things on Twitter about you, and you have a a reduced skill set, don't be on camera all the time. You know what I mean? It's like it's
Oh, and
common
then he's
sense.
on commentary too.
Yeah, it's even worse too because the fans don't want him there. And then when he's on TV and in the ring, that's when you're gonna get the chance of please retire. And do you remember this on pay per view? NDAs.
I
It's like,
did.
dude, it's like Ezra Miller, the actor in the Flash.
No, but go ahead.
Okay, have you seen the Flash movie with Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that one, that guy.
Yeah, so you know how he had a lot of hot water, and whether his mental illness or maybe stress or maybe
Right.
his drinking problems. You know what Warner Brothers did that was smart? Listen, we're gonna release the movie. You ain't doing no interviews. You're not doing a press junket. You're not gonna be seen in public that much. We need to kind of like reduce you because you're gonna hurt the brand. Tony Khan
Because yeah,
needs.
because somebody's gonna mention your issue. Somebody's gonna bring it up. Nobody
Mhm.
does interviews and just like, hey, we're just gonna talk about the movie. Nobody does that. Like
Yeah, exactly.
we were supposed to talk about AEW Dynamite or Dynasty, and I don't even know what we talked about in the beginning of the show.
But look at we're now talking about Jericho. Yeah,
You had Mike issues. Now we're back to Chris Jericho Dynamite or Dynasty. So it's like it not things go their way unless you're gonna have somebody there and be like, hey, we're only here to do the movie. We're here to talk about that one subject. That's it. And then that's what people know when they have securities or have their own agent with them to do interviews. Cause at least that way it's their agent that comes because they'll hear a question and be like, nope, interview's over. And then that
yeah,
the person who's on the hot seat just doesn't say anything. Like, oh no, sorry, my agent says time to go. Time to
hmm
go.
you can't do that with wrestler in the ring. You can't just have someone come out and get out of the ring.
Yeah,
But
a
I think,
referee.
oh, okay, fair. You got me there. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, so Chris Jericho's clearly on Twitter. Let's be honest. He's on Twitter. He reads every fucking thing on there. I'm hoping to God he realizes
And he
I'm
has a
just hurting.
podcast.
You know what sucks? I kind of like his podcast. Like I will give that credit. I do like the people because he has pull. He can bring in a big
Yeah.
diverse cast of people on there. But I think he needs to like step back, vacant the belt, or just retire the belt because AEW has too many belts. It's kind of annoying.
This is what, so I found out the reason why they're not doing this because I just heard that Tony Khan doesn't own fully of Ring of Honor, just a percentage.
Oh, okay.
So, because I mentioned this saying before, we talked about this before on my podcast, saying like, why doesn't Tony Khan just do what WWE did? WWE brought in the World Heavyweight title, well, the look of it, but not the legacy of it. But brought in the WWE United States Championship. That's the only title that's still part of WCW.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, why not? Because the TNT title is basically a television title, so
Yeah.
you should keep that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously keep the tag team. I like the 6-man tag team titles. I like it. You know, they have enough people for it. The international and the continental title, eventually that's gonna be merged into one. And I
Oh,
don't,
the people have been saying that it's gonna become
yeah,
their intercontinental championship.
yeah. It's just like just do it already. And I would say I have mixed feelings about that one, but the fact that it main evented all out last year,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like okay, they should keep it, but at the same time, it's like no. I feel like that's the one that needs to go and bring in the pure wrestling title from Ring of Honor, and then but then people then that's when somebody mentioned to me saying that Tony Khan doesn't fully own Ring of Honor. He's just it's kind of more of a like if you had a business and it was a dime business and it was like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, how much to keep your business keep running? And it's like that's basically all Tony Khan did.
Gotcha. Well, so what do you think his
I
long-term
think
plan is for Ring of Honor?
I think the only thing Tony Khan does own is the library.
Oh, dude, no, he treats libraries like gold mine because I know that's what he's hoping the HBO deal is going to be. Like
Yeah,
they can put that on HBO Max,
yeah,
and dude, if they do that, I think it'll help their viewership because then
it
you can have
will.
people, yeah, and also like AEW fits more for HBO than any other wrestling company in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. Ring of Honor has oh my gosh, dude. The classic matches: Adam Cole versus AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, no, Austin
Or early
Aries,
CM Punk.
early CM Punk, Colt Cabana. It's just so the Briscoe brothers, El Genetico, Kevin Steen, and they could use that,
Yeah.
you know. So that's the crazy. I feel like, but that's the part where I feel like WWE should partner up with AEW on is for the library. Whereas like how can we get some of these footage, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
let's just buy like we don't need to own them. Like just give us like a temporary kind of like a leasing kind of thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
let us lease these videos for like a few years or something like that. Especially it would have been perfect for them last year, you know, last
Mm-hmm.
year's WrestleMania. They would have been perfect to have those footage ring from their Ring of Honor days or hell PWG, you know. I don't know. It's just and what was the other thing? You said what'd you mention about Ring of Honor? You were asking me a question.
Yeah. What do you think his long-term plan is? Just to appear as maybe as like a web show or like a streaming show for HBO Max, or
So
they got to do
we
something with that property.
this is what if I was Tony Khan and I was homie with them, I'd be like Tony Khan, TK, brother, we got to chat, bro. Dynamite, keep it on Wednesday. Friday, have collision. Saturday night or Thursday, You could have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, or Saturday. If you're gonna have pay-per-views on Sundays, then Saturday. If you're gonna have pay-per-views on Saturday, then Thursday. 1 hour. I've turned Rampage to a Ring of Honor show. Give them 1 hour televising show, and then the other
Hmm.
hour. So the beginning show could be, what's it called? Um, actually, no, screw that. Tony, you remember when Tony Khan? See, he has so many freaking company shows. It's hard to remember. Do you remember Dark Elevation that used to be taped at the Impact
Oh,
Zone?
yeah, yeah, man, yeah, yeah.
Do that for Ring of Honor. That way, web Ring of Honor should just be a online internet deal. Go to Ring of Honor, have the Honor Club thing. That's where you're gonna watch Ring of Honor, and then do pay-per-views. Do the premium live events. You could do it for how how WWE would do it with NXT. Like, all right, cool.
Hmm.
Hey guys, Ring of Honor Saturday is gonna be Ring of Honor in front of. It's gonna be next next to the arena that we're gonna have the Sunday show for AEW, or flip them around, like AEW is gonna be in the 1,000, or like in the 10,000 arena, and then Ring of Honor is gonna be in the AEW is gonna be in the 10,000 arena. Ring of Honor is gonna be like in the 5,000 or less, you know, or you could have it be part of it, like that show, because you have 12 matches in one show, right? You telling
Hmm.
me two or three of them can't be Ring of Honor?
And also, if you have a separate show, you can have a separate brands. So then your
Yeah.
Forbidden Door is four things: AEW, Ring of Honor,
Ring of
CML,
Honor could be the other world title.
yeah, and New Japan. You have
Yeah.
a four-way for your Forbidden Door.
Even what's it called? Vince, I don't know. Vince McMahon trying doing that with WCW. You know how WCW had that 1 hour show
Yeah,
before
yeah. I
SmackDown?
with Buff Bagwell and Booker T.
That did not work out well, right? That they dropped that so quickly because they realized that, oh,
Our fans love us. They don't love
yeah,
our
they don't.
ops, if you will.
Yes, that's what they made them realize. So that's why it's just like, dude, the fans that love Ring of Honor, they love Ring of Honor. I mean, your AEW fans are Ring of Honor fans. So it's
You know
just
what?
like it could just be like that. Collision could just be a Ring of Honor show.
You just brought something up. You kind of just gave me an idea. Honestly, since you have, if you want to elevate Ring of Honor, just have Ring of Honor almost kind of invade New Japan and just
Mm.
have like some crazy cross promotion. Like have the Ring of Honor World Champion against the New Japan World Champion to elevate to kind of get it their stock back up again. Because you need to have word of mouth for that premiere episode.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense that how are you gonna have, oh hey, next week the Ring of Honor television champion is gonna be defending the title on Dynamite, and then that's it. It's just like it's just like if you have a big storyline or a pay-per-view coming up, and Ring of Honor's pay-per-view is like 2 months later, it's like then you could use the Ring of Honor storyline to build up for that pay-per-view. Because Ring of Honor does have some good storylines, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but it's just like, why are you not using that storyline and bring that to your show? It's just like it doesn't make sense half of the time. And Ring of Honor has not been a bad show. It's just been really weird and awkward because they just have too
Mm-hmm.
many roster as well. And then you have guys who are in AEW showing up to Ring of Honor. And it's just like it's Tony Khan needs to release a lot of people. A lot of
He
people.
did a few weeks ago. I think he had his first set of like releases. So I
He
think
released like 4 people within like 3 weeks or 3 years.
it's something. I'm not saying it's a lot, but it's
Yeah.
something.
So yeah, but those are people like you wouldn't even notice. And it's just crazy how, like I said, Tony Khan needs to release a lot of people. The Young Bucks need to lose their EVP card. Even Kenny Omega's like, I don't even know what I do with this role. So I don't know. Any last comments or any last thing you want to say before we head out, Marcos?
I will say that I think AEW is ideally going in the right direction after Dynasty,
I would like to believe that.
and I
I
think the HBO deal will make their lives a lot easier as well.
Yeah. I feel like they made the right call making Swerve their world champion because that was a hell of a match. Um, and I feel like Tony Khan and the Young Bucks, I hope they finally drop the CM Punk. I hope they drop WWE in general and just focus on their self
Oh
and
yeah, 100%.
move forward because here's the thing. You're shitting on something that made us love wrestling. You're
Yeah.
shitting on something that is making like Tony Khan was at WrestleMania not that long ago before AEW was a thing.
Hmm.
So, you you got inspired by them and all that stuff. So it's just like, why are you shitting on something that made you like if I started my own wrestling company and I got to
Hmm.
that level, I ain't gonna shit about WWE. You got
Yeah.
me here. Like,
I mean, yeah, like look at TNA stars. A lot of them were part of WWE to some capacity. I
yeah,
gotta hate on the people that helped them out.
they did at first, but then they realized
You're hurting yourself and the
I'm
brand.
hurting. Yeah, I'm hurting myself than the company. So
Hmm.
because look what happened with Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn was trashing the Road Dog, the
Oh,
Outlaws.
Voodoo Kin Mafia.
God damn the shit talking they did, and look at them now. Oh, okay,
Well,
maybe
Road
not
Dog,
now.
yeah, for sure,
Maybe
yeah.
not now at this exact moment, but and
For
back
the
into
longest time, yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
longest time, they finally came back and they became WWE Tag Team Champions. So it was like you did all that for what? You know,
Make Jeff Jarrett happy? Who
it
knows?
was entertaining as hell. It
I
was
did like
entertaining as
where
hell.
they were going with that to a degree.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
And they knew what they were doing though. They knew like this is a gimmick, you know.
Hmm.
So, but that's what I'm saying. I hope with the Young Bucks, I hope that's what they're doing with the whole CM Punk.
Yeah.
Whereas like this is just a gimmick, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but we know who you are.
Yeah, they're not the easiest people to work with or being around. Yeah,
Yes.
100%.
So it's like we know who you are. So it's like it's kind
Hmm.
of hard to take you guys say like this is just a work, brother. It's like, no, because you wanted to
The dirt sheets,
say
they know. They know.
yeah, but we know, yeah, because it's like the storyline, like, oh yeah, we lost our match to FTR at All In because we had to put our EVP hats on. Punk never mentioned you guys. You guys were nowhere near that area.
No, I mean, you
So
know what? One day when everyone's retired, we're gonna have a great behind the scenes story coming from this.
I
And I
hope
can't
so,
wait for that.
and I hope we're still wrestling fans and alive and rich.
I mean, we've been talking about wrestling since what, 2009, 2008 when we met
you
what,
and me,
2007? Yeah.
you and me met at yeah, '07.
But it wasn't until it was like SummerSlam or WrestleMania I mentioned it and you came by and you're like, hey, you watch WrestleMania too? And that kind of
Uh
started our friendship.
you guys, I think I somewhat remember that. I remember that's how it went. I don't remember what exactly, but you mentioned, I know it was like either you were watching something or you mentioned something, and I looked at you. I was like, "Oh, you watch wrestling?" And then you were more shocked that I watch wrestling.
Yeah, dude, because like it's wild, but like because we were fans in an era where like it wasn't cool to be a wrestling fan. You
It
kind of kept that shit to
wasn't.
yourself.
Yeah,
Like we remember like
I no,
now
I
kids,
was public with it. Yeah,
man,
I
I
was
must have just never
public.
picked up on that or something. I must have
Yeah,
never been in the room, but um like kids now they have like WrestleMania club in like the elementary school and they watch wrestling. And I think that's
yeah,
cool, but we were like the last generation where you kind of in the closet about being a wrestling fan.
yeah.
Like it's like
There
for
was a
me, I'll never
lot
forget,
of those people like that.
dude. Even in college, I because I was grown and I didn't give a shit. I told me, yeah, I watch wrestling. My buddy Carlos, like across from me, was like, hey, you watch wrestling, like WWE and like Impact? And yeah. The next day of class, he sat next to me. We've been friends for like the last like 7, 8 years too. It's like even in college.
I think that's what brought you to my group. I was like, oh, come with
Yeah, yeah,
me.
because I was the new kid. Because I came from Maine West. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's
Oh,
true.
is that where you came from, Maine West? I
Yeah,
didn't knew that
because I
part.
came in a really weird time of like the school year too.
Yeah, I think it was
But
like your second or third because I remember you showed up. Yeah, yeah, because you showed up like in the middle of the week. There was a
Hmm.
pay-per-view event that weekend, came back that following Monday. Yeah, okay, I remember. I
Yeah, and then
remember.
we go to your place for the Impact because like not only were we wrestling fans, but we also were TNA fans too. Like we were WWE fans, but also we both brands
Yeah,
we like.
more people were like more shocked about that because they were like, "Oh, you're a wrestling fan." I
Like
just
if
thought
you're
you were,
TNA back then, you
yeah,
love this shit.
yeah, because people were just like, "Oh, you're just a WWE guy,"
Do you
and
remember how we were like in a study hall at Miss Ben's room, and like I would just be on like the forums for wrestling, like the internet people, like because I couldn't see these things on YouTube, so I could
yeah,
read these reviews about PWG. I'm like, yo, you
you
hear about they call Ring of Honor?
you started. I knew about. Oh no, no, I knew about Ring of Honor, but you were the one that showed me how to watch Ring of Honor because
Yeah.
I always had to borrow tapes from somebody to watch Ring of Honor. That's how I discovered CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Or yes, that's how I was able. No, I want to say discover CM Punk. Yes, I did discover CM Punk because of Ring of Honor with the tapes, but I was able to keep watching his matches because of those tapes. But then you were the one who showed me, oh yeah, if you go on this website, you could watch Ring of Honor for free. And that's how, and then I remember the first one that you showed me was the Young Bucks versus El Genetico and Kevin Steen.
Yeah.
That
Holy
was the
shit,
first
dude.
one. Yeah, that was the first
You
one where I was just like, I got hooked. I don't really care about the Young Bucks, but I liked El Genetico and Kevin Steen, and I just followed their career. So, so thank you for that.
my welcome, brother.
Yeah, for you, you started my journey with Kevin Steen, the American Wolf, Eddie Edwards. So yeah, thanks for that because I got to see Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, El Genetico live at
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania. I got to meet Eddie Edwards, you know, got to see him wrestle as well. So it's like, so yeah, thank you for that. You were the starting point of I like these three guys, and you are the start of like Ring of Honor for me because I heard of Ring of Honor because you
Mm-hmm.
hear things,
Oh no,
you hear
if you talk to
things.
enough people, they always recommend you this specific brand, but
Yeah,
also like Google was amazing because it will link you to like this and that and this and that. I remember watching
and then we
like
were in school, so we
mm-hmm.
had to be careful what we went through because there's certain websites they you know not just the bad sites but
But
the school
like
they
certain like
block.
wrestling websites were like in a foreign country, like in England or like
Yeah,
in the Middle East, you couldn't really get to it. But
yeah.
I remember watching CM Punk, Rey Mysterio, and Eddie Guerrero and IWA, like 40,
Mm.
80, like the worst quality possible. Like at Miss Ben's office, just like watching like tape libraries off YouTube. Because
You
back
know,
then, YouTube wasn't so anal about the copyright stuff, where you can kind of upload stuff and you might be fine for the most part. But yeah, I remember watching like the worst quality matches though. That's how I got
yeah.
into the indies.
Yeah, that I remember that match as well. What was my favorite one that I watched? Oh man, I'm freaking throwing a blank. I remember it was Austin Aries because I was like, I remember you mentioned something. You were like, oh, because you were like, hey, I think this is the. I
Wait,
feel
cause
like I could get the time. I feel like I'm getting the timeline wrong, but you
mm-hmm.
mentioned about Seth freaking Rollins doing a backflip on a bigger guy.
Yes, yeah. It was a Ring of Honor
You
show, I think. Yeah.
you were
Or
the one who brought that up, and then once I found out about, and then you told me about Austin Aries, because you were the one where, because you once you got into Ring of Honor, you were into Ring of Honor, like
because it
once
was
you
kind of
found
like
it.
it connected to TNA so well because he would
Yeah,
be on TNA as Austin Star, and like
yeah.
they helped each other so
That's
much.
how you asked me because you were like, "Hey, uh, is that Austin Starr? Do you know this guy?" And then that's where I was like looking, and I was just like, "That's Austin Harris." And I was just like, "Damn, he's." I was like, "Yo, hold up, he
It's
Ring
the
of
same
Honor.
guy.
He's world champion in this company. There is no way this is the same guy, and it's the same guy. I never understood that. Where it was just like, how is a guy Austin Aries is a world champion, the most hated guy for this company, but yet he was a mid card joke at TNA.
Same thing with like Homicide in the tag team in TNA. He was with
Mm,
LAX, but he was the world champion and like a locker room leader in Ring of Honor.
right, because he was the OG there. him and low
Dude,
key.
yeah. Like, and also like he was a badass. Like he
Yeah.
legit will like knock
Christopher
your head off.
Daniels as well. So that's why it was always shocking to me. And then I like that because it was like, cool. I get the best of both worlds, and then plus the WWE on top of that. So I was like, oh my gosh, so much freaking wrestling going on at
Do
that
you
time.
remember how like we would like comb through episodes of Heat? Because you got like the little origin episodes of like CM Punk and Brian Daniels and like Velocity. Like they
Oh
would have
yeah.
like they would have like a random cameo, and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like he might blow up. Like for me, when Frank Kazarian was on Velocity, I was like, yo, is he getting groomed to be like the next Chavo Guerrero in the cruiserweight division? And then nothing came from it though. But it was cool seeing him in a WWE product. And I always love Velocity and Heat for that same reason too.
Yeah, that was I wish TNA would have done a little bit more of that to have outsiders to be like
They did when they would
securities
lose
or
money because they couldn't pay him.
that's true.
That's the unfortunate part. Yeah, when they
I
lose
mean, I
money, that
feel I
ain't
feel
money.
like they don't even pay the extras that much anyways, because it's just exposure.
Oh yeah, like Moxie, I think they were like, you got TV time, so you can kind of take that and make a demo reel. So
Yeah.
it's more like you got footage for your demo reel.
Yeah, and also I think they if they did get paid, I heard the most they ever got was like $100.
Funny enough, a guy I knew older brother was like an indie wrestler up in Wisconsin, and he did a splash match with Big Show, and I think him and the guy because it was a handicap splash match, the Big Show can take 2-on-1.
Mm,
I think before gas, it was like $900 a piece, but that was WWE like an episode of SmackDown,
mm. No, that's
which
what
I
I
don't
was
think
talking
that's.
about. No, no, no. But they were wrestling. I'm talking about just doing like an appearance, like cameo. You're a security. The most you
Oh
ever
no no
get
yeah,
is
it's
like a hundred
because like
bucks. That's what I heard.
your
If you're doing a
payment is you
squash
get to.
match, yeah, a squash match, you get. I heard them less than $500. That's what I
But
heard.
maybe Big Show was more because he's just so large, and also you're on TV.
It
Like
maybe their selling was good, and that whoever pays them was like, we'll give you an extra 100 because you made the Big Show look good. Because
and
that
also
could be the case as well.
if their promotion's owner had a good relationship with like a booker, they usually help out the boys too. Like, hey, this guy is one of my good
Mm,
boys. Can you help him out for me? Kind of a
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's
no, bro, it was great talking to you, man.
yeah, no problem. Appreciate it for your time. We've been on this show for an hour and like 50 minutes, man. I think this is gonna be like the longest episode. But hey, man, that's all cool. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Oh,
And
yeah, of
yeah,
course, man.
we did a lot of Let's Talk Wrestling today. That's what we did. We
Mhm.
went over, but that's what I love about this. This is why I like having special guests on the show once in a while. And especially like you, we haven't caught up and we went through memory lane. So because
Yeah.
now I'm about to cry about Ring of Honor. Because I was like, damn, because I'm like, till this day, I'm still a Austin Aries fan, you know? And I'm just like, I
I don't
can't
like the person,
remember.
but I love the wrestler.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, he changed. He's
Wow.
changed. He's more,
Yeah, he became a vegan and he's more like
yeah,
a Buddhist or something like that these days.
yeah. So he changed a lot as a person. But yeah, Austin Aries, again, hey, thank you for making me a Ring of Honor fan. But it's stuff like that where it makes you kind of hate how Ring of Honor is today.
Yeah, there was something special it being on the indies, it's kind of like an indie movie studio gets bought out by Disney. Like
Yeah.
it's something changes in that process.
It's like, oh yeah, now we have all the money, and it's just like, yeah, but you guys didn't really needed the money. You guys made it work.
You know what I compared it to? Watch a trailer for Deadpool 1 and then watch the trailer for Deadpool 3. It's a big difference.
Big different. Yeah, I can see that. It's like what, or even watching the first episode of Friends and then watching the final. It's just like there is a huge
Oh, I
difference.
imagine it's a completely different animal.
It's different, completely different, and it's just one of those things where it's like I kind of appreciate what we had. So, but all right, Marcos, appreciate it, everybody. Thank you for listening or tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe. All the links in the bio. Until next time, I am Ian, and we are out.
Peace out, brother.
Doo-doo-doo!